I appreciate the remarks of the majority leader. If you'll wait 1 minute, I just want to make a little offer with him. I'm not going to get into an argument with you because you brought up more things than I'd like to bring up in one speech anyway. But I do want to remind you that I was one of the 6 that voted in the shutdown that a day later solved a problem that you couldn't have done unless the 6 of us that did vote for it in the Republican conference voted for it. So I just want everybody to listen to this, watch it on TV, done with it. Everything he said is not always true. He did speak to us obliquely and recognize the fact that we did that. I just want to know I was one of them. And I'm only telling him that now because I want to chip tomorrow on his vote, and I want to try and impress him all I can.
Colleague, yield for a brief comment.
Absolutely.
I have every confidence that if my friend from Georgia were running the Senate, we wouldn't be in this pickle. I yield.
Thank you. I appreciate that, I think. Madam President, I'm not going to talk about judges and appointments and things of that nature. I could talk about them, but that's a big issue for us coming up. I want to talk about people, American citizens, farmers, ranchers, people that make our food supply happen, people that make our country happen, our economy happen, et cetera. Georgia is one of a number of states that have supposed to have had gotten disaster benefits some time back. You know, we've had hurricanes, floods, storms. California's had great fires. We had an earthquake in Alaska. We've had volcanoes in Hawaii. This has been one of the most devastating years the past couple of years we've ever had. And historically, we have always passed disaster bills to help our citizens who are put out of business, basically, by a disaster, to at least get their feet back under them. We've helped people get health care. We've helped people get housing benefits. We've helped people do a lot of things just to get their family put back together. People like these folks right here. And I just want to remind myself from this picture here that we got the Moss family. We've got others that are here that raise cotton, raise peanuts, raise pecans. Georgia's now #1 in the world in pecans. Pecans is a huge cash crop for us. Port of Savannah out in my state ships ton after ton all year long. But a pecan is an interesting nut, so to speak, because the tree has a life cycle of about 12 years before it can make or produce pecans. So when you invest in a pecan farmer, you don't invest in a watermelon farm where you get a watermelon the first year you plant it. You're investing in something that's going to take 12 years to mature and begin production. We had 70% of our pecan crop completely destroyed a few months ago now, in southeast Georgia, and you can't reclaim it. It's difficult to finance. It's an unusual tree and it's unusual wood because it's not as strong as you'd like to have it. Therefore, when it gets really mature and really produces, it produces so much weight on itself that unless you're really doing a good job, you're going to lose some of them just because of the weight it produces on its own limbs. Peanuts, everybody knows because we serve you those peanuts back in the cloakroom all the time to curb your appetite. Georgia peanuts, they're all laughing and looking at me. They know how good they are. That helps all of us make it for another day till we get to another meal. We all do all kinds of things in here about. We need agriculture is 21% of my state's economy, but it's all of America's economy, a lot of it. And most importantly, it's what we all have to do is eat 3 times a day. There's only 90 days worth of food supply available in any one given point in time in the world. I mean, because food grows, you consume it, and you replant and you grow again. We have a number of people from east to west coast and north of the northern border and west of the west border that are in pineapples or pecans or peanuts or whatever, cotton, that need some relief, that they have earned and need. And what's happening is we've had 2 attempts already to pass this amendment that's going to be offered tomorrow by Senator Shelby. It'll be offered, it's an amendment that basically Senator Perdue and I have offered as well in the past, that just takes those people in our country who've been hurt, who are eligible for programs that exist and are in the law, and get that money out the door. And for some of us, if we don't get it done in the next 2 weeks, it's just not going to get done. We have farmers that will go out of business. You know, everybody says all farmers are all rich. Well, they're dirt poor is what they are. I was a real estate guy. I know how you do that. You make a great balance sheet using the value of the real estate. But all of a sudden, if you lose the value of the real estate, you don't have anything to offset the liability that you created to buy the real estate. And so you've got trouble. And we got a lot of that in Georgia, a lot of it in Alabama, a lot of it in California because of the fires, a lot of other places. We need to get it straight. And the best thing we can do is get these farmers in a position where they know this year if they get their money in time to plant, they can make the money they need to pay the bank back rather than have the government give them a check for a disaster. So we're not only talking about helping the farmer, we're talking about helping us. Because every time we get the farmer back on his or her feet in order to go back into production, planning, and doing their job, then they'll produce income for that. They'll pay these loans off. Yeah, they're not going to be rich as they were before, but they won't be out of business. Some of these farms are farms of 200 years or more in the family. Post-Civil War farms that start. Lots of people in our state who are just dying because of what happened. Our cotton crop was killed. Probably the best, we think it was going to be the best crop we ever had, because the week before the storm started hitting, we did some picking. But then the storms came through, and one day, one hurricane wiped out the cotton in Georgia. Took out about 70% of the pecan trees in Georgia. Took out our blueberries. Yes, blueberries. Everybody says Michigan produces the most blueberries, or Maine does. No, they don't. Georgia does. Agriculture is an entrepreneurial business in our state, but it takes the ability to raise the money to plant it, produce it, sell it, take the profit and reinvest it. You're not talking about people getting rich. You're talking about people taking a risk and doing business like people always have done business. So I'm going to talk about this amendment for just a second because it's so important. There's some misinformation out there. Leader Schumer obliquely referred to a whole lot of misinformation, and I'm going to crack one of them that he said in just a minute. But it's important to know what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to tell Renee Moss, Greg Mims, and Casey Cox, these families right here, that help is on the way for their cotton, their pecans, their peanuts, and their farms. Help not to give them a hand out, but to give them a hand up. And tell their bankers that we're going to stick with them so they can work overtime and make the money back to pay the bank back and also pay us back. That's what we ought to do, and that's what we should do. But if we don't do it before the month's over, we're dead. As many of you know in here, the SNAP money ends this month. The SNAP money fix is in this. You're not going to have student nutrition programs if you don't get it added into the legislation, get it passed. And they run out technically the 31st of March, but we got 14 days until that's passed, which will be the 14th of April, to finally restore it. But we got to restore it as fast as we can, and we got to get it done. This bill does that. Let me tell you what the bill does. You've heard about Puerto Rico? I love Puerto Rico. When I was in the Air Force, we did field training trips to Ramey Air Force Base. I was a loadmaster. We did runs down there, down the East Coast all the time. Love the people down there. Love the food down there. Love the beaches down there. They're great folks. They've already gotten a number of millions of dollars, which they talked about in the speech today. They want $600 billion that we're going to have now approved in this bill. $600 billion. That's a lot of money. We've already got $91 million already and hadn't spent all that. We need to make sure everybody gets their fair share for the disasters that took place and doesn't take the disaster money and use it as a payoff somewhere down the line. So Puerto Rico should be helped, but the rest of the country should not be held hostage because of Puerto Rico. We've got Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, had hurricane damage, California, the wildfires, Alaska, the earthquake, Hawaii, the volcanoes, and this include also, as I said, $600 million for Puerto Rico. No money for CDBG like some wanted, but the rest of the money for the SNAP program. And that's what the vote's going to be about tomorrow. The Democrats are going to tell you, just like Mr. Schumer did. He was for this a while back. I don't know what happened to him. I guess he got upset about something. I don't know what it is, but this only says we're going to take care of people who've had a disaster, which they didn't want, have lost lots of money, which they couldn't lose. It's going to go out of business, which we want them to do. And it's going to compound their problem in their states. I know the senator from Arkansas is arriving. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Rice is a great product in Arkansas as well as other agricultural products. They're the key to their economy. We've got to get them straight while we can. So it's about those crops. It's about their insurance. It's also about some other things. I wanted to bring this up because it's about global warming, about climate change, about a lot of things we don't ever brag about around this place. I'm going to brag about it simply because people don't think these things are just about one simple subject. This is a report out of the Appropriations Subcommittee that does a number of things to fix that are broken. Things that people in here talk a lot about wanting to do. Things like $20 million for the CDC to continue their research on epidemics, which saved us with the Ebola when it hit us a couple of years ago, and it'll save us again about measles. We're on the cusp of measles, an outbreak like we've never seen before. It's not there yet, and I don't want somebody to run out and say he said it's there. But it's coming if we don't react to it and respond to it. And it's absolutely critical that we do, and see to it that we do as fast as possible. It's about $600 billion for Puerto Rico. It's about emergency forest restoration programs where our forests have been destroyed by storms. It's about nutrition assistance for the Commonwealth and Northern Mariana Islands, a province of the United States of America where people are starving right now or going into malnutrition. It's about American Samoa. It's about Puerto Rico. It's about market education programs for GI waivers. It's about the economic development assistance grants and programs, which right now are not working because they're not funded. If we don't get them funded, they are not going to work for the betterment of our economy. It's about $200 million to repair the damage caused by Hurricane Florence, to Marine Corps installations at Marine Corps Base at Camp Lejeune. I think you agree, and I agree, the Marine Corps is very important. You say, what emergency do they have? They were wiped out because of the storm. If we don't rebuild these things as quickly as possible, we're going to have our Marines without a place to bivouac, a place to sleep, or a place to eat. You don't want that to happen. That's what this is about. It's not about giving out perk money. It's about absolute essentials, the defense of our country, the food of our country, et cetera, to do so. So I want to appeal to Senator Schumer, and I listened to his remarks. And now, unfortunately, Senator from Vermont's come. He didn't know I was up here, I guess. I'll talk about him a little bit, too. Mr. Leahy, he's a fine gentleman and a great friend of mine. But he's kind of let me down on this one. I want to talk about that in just a second, so hopefully I change his mind, or maybe yours as well, Mr. President. But this is something, we don't have a second chance at this. We've had two chances and didn't make it. We voluntarily got off the other bills because we didn't have enough money to get on because we had to get something else done, passed. One of them, restoring the cuts before on the shutdown, which, by the way, we got out for the shutdown vote to allow this to pass because we cut out one of the arguments. So just want to throw that in as well. And I see you leaving already, didn't want to hear what I had to say. He told me, and I'll raise this again if he comes back in while I'm up, but he told me, he said, I've always voted, he's back, I've always voted for emergency money. I've always voted for emergency money too, for Yankees, for Southerners, for Westerners, for Northerners. Because when we have an emergency in this country, it's America's emergency. It's not just somebody's emergency from one region or another. Now, we don't want to bleed ourselves to death. We don't want to wastefully spend this money. But by golly, if we become a country we can't depend on ourselves to help ourselves when times are tough, I don't know. Now, Senator Romney and I talked before this a little bit ago about we really ought to have a sinking fund and create a funding source and over time accumulate money as a hedge against future disasters. We know we're going to have them. We always do. We know they're going to come. They always do. But we at least have more money in the bank to prepare for them. So we don't get into political battles like we're in now where we have tangential issues that we're debating all because of the amendment, et cetera. So with the distinguished senator from Vermont on the floor, I'm going to cut some of my remarks short so he'll have plenty of time to say what he wants to say. But I want him to hear what I had to say. This is about Puerto Rico, and they are getting $600 million, and they've already gotten some money. They're not going to get everything they want, but they're getting everything they should get out of this particular bill, including the SNAP benefits, which the other states who've been cut out of SNAP are going to get. The farmers in the South are going to get a chance to replant, a chance to borrow, and a chance to make the money to pay back over time. Otherwise, it's going to be on our back anyway, so if we don't help them, we're going to be stuck. It's about doing the right thing at the right time for the right people. The right thing is to restore the confidence they have in the bills we've passed to allow them to farm or whatever it is that they do. That's number one. Number two, we need to do it without argument about regions or people or what they do. We ought to do it as American citizens supporting other American citizens in what they do and for their livelihood and what they pay their taxes to us with because of that. And lastly, there are times we come and have great debates over things that are really political in nature or funny in nature or not as serious as they are. I'm serious as a heart attack about this. I mean, I told Mitch McConnell, who was mentioned by Senator, a minute ago, Senator Schumer, I told Mitch, I said, I can't go home this weekend and tell him the same thing I've told him the last 4 weekends. I got to tell him that we're going to get the job done for him or we're going to fail him. I don't want to fail him. I'm going to vote for the amendment of tomorrow that Senator Shelby offers. If it loses, I'm going to vote for the one the Democrats will offer, which will give us a chance to get something back in the conference committee. If both those lose, we might as well go home. We're going to wake up one day in the next few months and say, what did we do? Why did we do that? We've lost our perspective. It's not just about Georgia, it's about America. It's not just about farming, it's about lots of things. So it's time for us to do what's right, what we should have done on the two bills before that we withdrew. Let's make it happen the way we've always promised people, and let's do the right thing at the right time for the right people, the citizens of the United States of America. And I yield back the balance of my time.